By the way, by means of introduction, I am Sudesh Sivarasu. I'm an academic at the University of Cape Town, Biomedical Engineering. And my talk today is going to be about what is the future of medical technologies be with AI. I'm using stethoscope as a layman's example, but that's just to give a indication. This is my contact details in terms of where we are. We are situated in the health sciences faculty and within the Biomedical Engineering Research Center. So I run two laboratories, a little bit of PR. I'm using this opportunity, Deepak. I hope you don't mind. MedTech laboratories, which works more on medical devices, orthopedic biomechanics laboratory, which works on orthopedic interventions. Let's hope this technology helps me today. So orthopedic biomechanics, I'll use examples of what work that we have done in the past that has come out of these laboratories as we go forward. And I've asked Martina to give me a 5-minute alarm to stop. As you know, lecturers can keep speaking for hours together. So if you feel it is boring or if you want to doze off, but just show up your hands, I'll fast track to close it down. So I want to start. This is one of my favorite slides, and you will see it in every presentation that I'm going to be giving. If there are 3 people in the world, 2 people in the world do not have access to appropriate health technologies, right? And this is a problem, pressing problem. All of us are encountered with this in some form or the other. So far, we have been discussing about how AI is used in biotechnology. And the premise of biotechnology is so broad, but sometimes we kind of mistake it only to the ones in micro level, the microstructure level. But I want to shift the focus a little bit to go into macro level. Have anyone here in the room come out or encountered AI in a medical equipment or a device that is of this room size? Any device or any large medical device that is driven by AI. Have any one of you encountered anything of that sort? A medical device, a hardware medical device, not a software medical device, a hardware medical device, which has physical components. Have you encountered any such medical device? Okay, I want us to ponder on this question as we go further in this presentation. The reason why I'm saying this is medical devices or medical equipments are key critical components in terms of healthcare delivery. As much as where you think about diagnostics, where you think about assays, medical equipments are enhancers or technologies which can basically give you access to healthcare professionals with limited technology but multiple access. We want to see how the future of this is going to look with AI, the large manufactured medical devices look like. And here is where the real challenge is. We always get either too confused or too afraid of AI. And I want to, I'm using the example of a stethoscope because stethoscope, as per some of the history in stethoscopes, you know that in 5000 BCE, the very first usage of stethoscope, the records stayed back to 5000 BCE, right? But the stethoscope in the way that we understand came out in about 1816, 18 plus or minus about 1815, 1816 area. So what's so unique about stethoscope? I know stethoscope is a fundamental component of medical technology, which is going to, it's a basic acoustic device which is going to help you hear what's happening inside your body. But it has actually gone leaps and bounds in terms of the generations of technology. And now you can actually see, what's your, cardiovascular health, that can be very clearly read out. And I've also noticed some elements of stethoscopes that you can actually keep on your chest to see your coronary artery calcification scores. The technology is going in that range. But we also should not forget that stethoscope is also one of the most feared items. The moment you show a stethoscope to a child will run away. Because they always link it with something that a person is with a long needle is going to come and, put a shot. That's what my daughter calls, a shot. So stethoscope is always linked with fear, right? So I want us to see that on a completely different extreme, stethoscopes are also used as a style quotient. All the medical doctor trainees, they put it on them while they're shopping in Woolies. Doesn't make sense, right? It's a style quotient. In some cultures they call it the doctor's scarf, right? So it can go long and long. So let's not, I think we are using AI in a similar way. We are either too afraid of AI or we love it so much. I was just chatting to the previous panelists here. We don't have either we embrace it too much or we hate it too much. We actually don't know what it is. I want us to reflect on this statement that was made in 2017. They call artificial intelligence to be the stethoscope of 21st century. I want us to reflect on this because what does that mean? It basically means you can see the world through artificial intelligence, or you can be afraid of this. You can run away from this. Let's go back. Why are we afraid? I think we do not fear the unknown. A lot of things we don't know about AI. We do not fear about the unknown. We actually fear what we think we know about the unknown. That is where I think the real challenge with artificial intelligence is. We fear about what limited abilities that we have seen, the prompts that we have seen with artificial intelligence. We fear about what that's going to bring out to our lives. Let's keep that in the backdrop as we go. I want us to show, the previous panelists were speaking about how do we regulate artificial intelligence. So if anything happens, if a pandemic happens, we immediately reflect to what WHO says on this. If SARS breaks out, we go to see what WHO says on this. Let's see what WHO says on pandemics. WHO says on artificial intelligence. 2021, WHO issues a report, first global report on artificial intelligence and in health, 6 guiding principles for design and use. This is the very first report that came in 2021. The 6 guiding principles were protecting, promoting, ensuring, fostering, ensuring, promoting responsive and substantial usage of AI, right? So this is public information. You can go look into it, or I'm happy to share this links if you need to. But let's see how this progresses, because they are supposed to be, WHO is supposed to be guiding us in this process, right? So let's see what happened in 2022, exactly 1 year prior to now. 2022, WHO says use of artificial intelligence is on the rise, but its impact on health is still limited. So this is based on systematic review. This is not a opinion. This is based on purely systematic reviews that has come out. 2022. Let's see what's now. After the large language models, I think all of us got the real taste of AI only after ChatGPT was introduced in the market for us as a lay person. Let's see what WHO says after the large language models. This is in May. WHO calls for safe and ethical AI for health. So if you look at this, it's very inconclusive in terms of whether it is safe, whether it is ethical, etc., etc. Going back to all the points that the previous panelists were speaking about. And this is fresh out of press, released today morning on Forbes. 10 ways AI is advancing healthcare. We all know this, interpreting, accelerating breakthroughs, which UV Bio is doing, all other things, improving access to care. These are like amazing things. In a summary, this came up right today, early hours of today on Forbes. But we all know this, right? And if you look closer into this, what's coming out repeatedly is that these are systems that are not hardware related. Most of it is software related. I want us now to take a step back into a hospital, and let's see how AI is used in a hospital. So we know that AI has a great potential in medical imaging. A lot of articles are there. There are lots of systematic reviews on applications of AI in medical imaging. let's look at what happens in a radiographer's office. So between 2014 to 2023, there's been a almost close to 200% increase in the amount of radiological data that is generated. It's also because the technology for imaging has significantly improved. We are now able to get full body scans in less than 5 seconds, full body CT scans, full body X-rays in less than 10 seconds, 5 seconds. The technology is advancing big time. What is also happening is that there is a gap between the amount of access in terms of radiologists is there and amount of need. The shortfall is close to 31%. So globally, there is a significant shortage of radiologists to the amount of radiological data that needs to be processed. And this goes, I would like the audience to come out to say, have you ever met a radiologist who looks into your data? And have you ever tried peeping into their office? They're always very busy. They always are extremely busy with lots of data, right? But what I'm trying to convey with this is there's another side to the story. The other side to the story is that there is a significant dilemma of AI versus radiologist. Who's better, right? There was this study, again, published 2023 in Radiology. It's an esteemed journal within the space of radiology, which did a retrospective analysis of over 1,090 scans. And they found that the AI was able to pick, or AI was accurate on 99.1%. I would like the audience to guess how many percentage was that compared to the radiologist. The radiologists are actually trained on this. They are trained for like 6 to 10 years on this. I would like you to take a guess on what would be the percentage by the radiologists who have been trained, who have spent 10 years on this, or close to 10 years on this, in terms of their accuracy against 100. Louder? 37. 10 to 70. Wow. 17. Oh, 10 to 17. Okay. Fantastic. I wish we don't have a society where we have 10 to 17% inaccurate radiologists, but that's a great guess. 85. I wish we have radiologists who could do that as well. Yes, sir. Last. That's a very good question. I should have asked that to begin with. 27%. Okay. So you're very accurate, very precise, but on the other side. So about 66.9% of the radiologists were accurate. About 27% of the radiologists were inaccurate, which is not bad. But if you were to put your money against 99.1 to about 66.9, where would you put your money? The evidence speaks for itself, right? What are your odds of getting it wrong? And I want us to use this is just a retrospective study, a limited case study of 1,090 cases. AI is amazing, right? Okay, now I'm already shifting towards AI. You know, I started saying that we have a love-hate relationship. I'm kind of going into a love affair with AI. AI is amazing. Let's go further, right? So let's go into. We saw from the keynote speaker to the other speakers today, everyone mentioned about generative AI, right? The beauty of generative AI is that it's as good as the data that we give, but it's only as good as the data that we supply. It's only as good as the data that we supply. I want to emphasize that because the speakers also mentioned that we do not have sufficient African data. Irrespective of whether it is biomedical engineering, biogenetics, we do not have sufficient African data. So what is that going to be? You're going to be generating models on something that is not relevant or not suitable for you. I want to give a quick example of why do you think that's important? Okay, so a few years back, we did, as I mentioned, a part of my laboratory does orthopedic research, And we did a quick comparison of shoulder anatomies. And shoulder anatomies, the shoulder, the humeral, glenohumeral joint, which is your shoulder joint, we use that for, we studied that to design implants. So in order for us to design accurate implants for the population group, we went out to see that there is a rocking horse effect which is causing implants to fail. So we did further deep dive into that. We thought, let's do a interpopulation study. So one is a Caucasian population group, purely Swiss, fully Caucasian population group, because that's the reference where most of our implants are designed with purely Caucasian designs. And then for the first time ever, we took South African data set, right? We compared it. What did we do? We just put a population screening. We used the SICA's repository, picked up the data, compared it against what we were able to produce at the University of Cape Town. What came out was we used, this is the methodology, there's a CT scan, then modeling, 3D modeling of the CT scans, and then use that to compare the morphometric variations. What came out, I'm just running it because I was advised by Q that I have 53 slides and I need to complete in 25 minutes. So you'll see, if you see 2 slides per minute, that's because of Q, okay? So I'm running through this 3D reconstruction. We reconstructed the scans into 3D models, subsequently used that to do a virtual surgery, and this is done by a surgeon who does the surgery. And then we use code extraction to find out where the various morphometric features were. So we figured out that there is, we wanted to see what is the real difference. Is there a difference? And if so, what is it? So what we did was we used a simple factor. When two bodies come together, two objects come together, the first point of contact is the highest point between the two. So that's like basic logic, right? So when two bodies come together, the highest point will be the first to impact. So we thought, let's extract that between the Swiss population group and the South African population group, and let's try to see where are they located and how they come close to each other. And what was interesting was that that's a very simple parameter that we use to iron out. What we found that it was not same. It was significantly different, especially from the top to bottom, from the front to back, anterior posterior to superior inferior. It was different. It was not the same. And it was significant. It was statistically significant. So how is that? You see a difference of around 2.36 millimeters. That's quite a, if you're looking at the whole shoulder is only about 20 millimeters, like that glenohumeral joint is 20 to 25 millimeters. That's about 10% variation within that one point in one particular axis. And in the other axis, it's about 2.7 millimeter, which is like significant. So long story short, what we found is that this one single parameter between the Caucasian population and the South African population, there is a significant variation between the 2 points. I want us to go back to generative AI models. If we feed this into the generative AI models, we have tens of thousands of Caucasian data sets that we can actually download from virtually from any repository and start putting out generative models for Caucasians. But how many such repositories exist for African ancestries? Right? Very limited to nil. I want us to keep that in the back of our mind when we go into doing this. Why are we emphasizing that we should actually do that? It's because the moment you use inappropriately designed implants, that's going to lead to failure. And who's going to bear the burden? It's us who are going to bear the burden. So if you're really thinking about impact of healthcare and impact in the larger economic scale, all these minor sub-millimeter to millimeter variations matter. And our generative models that we are currently using do not actually comply to this. So let's keep that, again, at the back of our mind. Okay, robotic surgeries, excellent, right? Let's see how, when we interface with robots, how we work on this. I'm going to show you an example of myself and a colleague of mine.
The tip actually makes it much more.
So this is us playing with the Da Vinci robot. You know the Da Vinci, right? So this is us playing with the Da Vinci robot. The task is very simple. Pick up an object, pick a red object, drop it in the red basket. Pick a yellow object, golden object, drop it in the golden basket. Pick a blue object, drop it in the golden basket. That is me trying to find where the pointers are and how to pick and drop, right? And a student of mine, and this was done in Italy last month when we were there trying to understand the robotic systems. And I want us to see a hardware that is actually driven by human. It's a precise hardware surgical system, but it is driven by human. So I want you to see how much of lag, how much of variations, how much of delays. They kind of use this for training surgeons to do robotic surgery. The more faster you do, Nicola was much, much better than me, but I want you to see her results just now. It scores, the trainer, she did all the three, but she still failed. Right? It was nowhere closer to what if this is done on you, your surgery is a failure. Right? You saw this. It is just how we did this. What was lacking was the instrument collision. So basically, Nicola was colliding her instruments with each other, and the workspace range, which wasn't good. But let's see what AI does with a similar kind of example. There are two examples. I'm sure you have seen it on TikTok, Instagram. I just want to reiterate that point here. When it comes to precision, when it comes to doing it repeatedly, AI is very good. Let's not object that. Let's see how it does. And again, public source information. Okay, again, there will be two videos. One on your right will be, it's your right, will be a surgical instrument trying to remove the skin of a grape from it. So skin of the grape. It's a very typical exercise that is given for surgeons, especially ophthalmic surgeons, who to do cataract surgery. It's a very typical exercise. Removing the skin of the grapes. The other one, which you will see, is a Chinese robot that removes the shell of a quail egg, very small, shell of the quail egg without puncturing the inner protection. Let's was broken, the shells removed, and then it was sutured back. And that's the kind of precision that we can get with AI-driven or machine learning-driven equipment, surgical equipments, right? And again, I'm moving from here to here in terms of my love quotient for AI. There's another example. Again, I want to show this. This is tech from Israel, and it was used for cars for object identification. What they did with that is subsequently they used the same technology that is used for detecting objects, cars, person, traffic lights, to use that for learning what's in front of you. So what you see, that's me trying to be looking a little more tech savvy, unlike me, but that's a thing that you can put on your glasses, and it basically takes an image, it takes a picture, and it reads out what's out there. And with the features that you can actually, you could just show some features in terms of which one to read, and there's an audio to it. It'll be too long. It'll read out the whole page that's in front of you, and it'll read out in the exact sequence how you see it. You read it like this, it will read it the same way. So this technology, which is used for autonomous cars, have now come into medical devices for helping people with limited to no visibility for doing their activities of daily living. And I think this is, again, another way I think our future of hospitals are going to take. For example, one of the biggest challenges, I don't know how many of you have noticed this, one of the biggest challenges if you go into a hospital is opening the door. Have you tried it? The big, large doors, almost impossible to open. I don't know why they don't automate it. It's almost impossible to open. But simple things like that, can be, if you know that it's a door, and if you can communicate between your glasses to the doors, it can actually open up. Another, this is one of the projects that devices that we are building within UCT MedTech. It's called UC Vent. And this is a technology, ventilator technology that was started developing during COVID. But what we have done with this technology is we have built in machine learning algorithms that will help to learn about the patient and the patient behavior for the ventilation that is provided. Subsequently, that can be used to treat or increase the oxygen levels or decrease the pressure rate or decrease the flow rate or increase the flow rate as it is required for the patients. And I think this is where the intervention that is required or manual interventions that is required in the past may actually be reasonably replaced with artificial intelligence. And I want us to, again, go back, say this with caution, that this is a process that we still need to wait out. There are lots of statutory warnings that I want to put out before we get there. I also want to highlight that only 20% of all the innovations goes into industrialization. If you really want to change the economy of the country, we need to change how technologies are industrialized. Only 20% of the technologies are industrialized. And guess how many of these technologies get successful? How many percent? Sabri knows the answer, so he's barred from answering that. Any guess? Out of 100 innovations that we make, how many? 20 of them go into industrialization. How many of them become successful? One? Oh, wow. I think that's coming from a TIA perspective. But thank you. That's very close enough. 3%. 3% is the 3% of for every 100 rands that we invest in R&D, only 3 rands comes back into the system. The remaining 97 goes back into the drain because the remaining 97 doesn't get in. But what I'm kind of emphasize is this industrialization of 20% is significantly lower, but this can be enhanced with appropriate use of AI. And there is an opportunity again. Again, there are various technology readiness levels. We need to intervene at various technology readiness levels. I'm happy to give 3 hours lectures on this, but not today. But what I want to emphasize is that there are multiple steps involved in bringing that one technology, medical device or an equipment to market or to even put it on the patient. There are multiple, each of these steps requires a lot of customization. And each of these steps has to work backwards and forwards in terms of what needs to be done, what needs to be corrected, and what needs to be reset before it can go to that. Unless you get each, and this varies from device category to device category, device to drugs, it changes significantly. So let's keep that all in mind. So if there are 50 steps in medical device innovation, each step requires a significant amount of customization. And I think that's where the real opportunity for AI is. The mass customization that AI can do for us or do on behalf of us is a real great opportunity for us to explore. And so far, we haven't tapped into that. So far, we haven't tapped into the mass customization that can happen with hardware. We have done it with software. We have done it with other relatively softer fields of science and technology, but we haven't done it in hardware. If you really want to see things changing, it needs to change in hardware. And I think that's where the opportunity really lies. It's a very complex structure. Again, I'm not going to go into steps of this, but I think if we were to cross these multiple valleys of death, we really need to have that integrating factor. And I think there is a great potential for AI to play that connecting factor, to play that integrated role, to play that wraparound solution that we all are looking for a wraparound solution in our respective domains. And I think we have a potential there, right? And I'm saying it with caution, and I'm saying it with respect to all the previous speakers, that it's an uncharted territory. We still need to build on it. The hope is that we could potentially, we are hoping that AI would be able to fill in here. But whether it is really the need of the hour, that's something that we need to explore. Again, I'm looking at Q and just pressing 5 times a second. So I just wanted to, in the previous panel, again, you could say that you can see that I actually bought this slide just after the previous presentation, because in the previous presentation, the panelists were talking about technologies or software as medical devices, and the AI-based medical devices, how many of them were approved? 2022, FDA approved 522 technologies. And in the grander scheme of things, that's too little, but it's better than 112 or something that was in the previous year. So these numbers are exponentially growing. And I'm sure you have come across Futurepedia. Have you come across Futurepedia? Yeah? It's a repository of AI tools, of all AI tools that get released every day. Yesterday, as I checked yesterday, 19th of October, Futurepedia had 10 new AI tools. Like ChatGPT, there are 10 different AI tools that were added just yesterday. And as of now, there are more than 5,000 odd tools similar to, by the way, I don't have shares with Futurepedia, so if you're just thinking I'm promoting that, no. I just learned it somewhere and it was so mind-blowing, because you can search for anything, be it a Twitter customization, or be it a generative model for images, or a clip art, or a presentation. I tried to even make my presentation using AI. Unfortunately, it didn't work. I know Deepak would have been very upset if I have just put a ChatGPT content here. But that being said, the regulatory pathway is still being explored. We are still following the 510K pathway. And there is an opportunity, again, here for regulators to come to the party. This is my understanding. I'm open for correction. And I say it with caution. Regulators are 10 years behind the technology, right? And AI is 20 years ahead of us. So put this together, we are looking at a 3-decade delay in AI being approved, or usage of AI being approved. And that's going to be a real challenge, because whether we like it or not, AI is going to impact our lives. Whether we want to embrace it or whether we want to fight it, I think the choice is ours, right? So what's next? Medical devices and hospitals are bound to grow stronger and smarter. Whether we like it or not, it is going to grow stronger and smarter. The choice is with us whether we want to follow the trend or lead the trend, or be kicked out of the trend. That's completely our choice. I think we need proactive regulatory frameworks for health technologies. And there needs to be an engaged, proactive discussion for health technologies, because as one of, I'm just trying to look at the one who actually said this, just before this conversation, he actually referred to safety, efficacy, and one more thing. Quality. Yes, sir. Safety, efficacy, and quality as the three pillars of proving health technology is good enough for usage. How do we prove that AI is safe? How do we prove that it is efficacious? How do we prove that it is of quality? Of course, with those numbers, we can see that it is of quality content, but how do we prove that it is safe? I think we still need to allow the regulatory framework to evolve. And I think we need to have a stricter stage-gated approach for stricter equivalence trialing. So essentially, do not open the floodgates, use stage gates, make sure that we call this the tumble dryer test. I don't know how many of you are aware of this. In the hardware design space, if you think your hardware is working well, great, put it in the tumble dryer for 5 minutes. And if your hardware device still works, then you have passed the hardware tumble dryer test. So we need to have tumble dryer tests, equivalent of tumble dryer tests for AI. Give it something completely crazy to see how that comes out with. And we'll see how that works. And we're all very familiar with this, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And last week I was in the BRICS Council meeting, and people were already talking about 7th industrial revolution. We are here. Mass customization, fifth industrial revolution is a possibility. We are talking about that. Anybody knows what's the sixth sixth industrial revolution going to be? Any idea? Because, if you look at this, the jump is like probably 20 to 30 years across. But ever since the large language models came into place, this jump is going to be less than a decade, sometimes even less than half a decade. So we might, if you're lucky enough, we might see seventh or eighth industrial revolution in our lifetimes. And I just Googled it again, thanks to ChatGPT and Google. I think the sixth industrial revolution, they say, is going to be in biotechnology. So more specifically in molecular genomics, molecular customized medicine. I don't know if it's true, but it's just one of the answers that came up. The seventh, they say, is going to be replicating machines. That's straight up Terminator design, right? So replicating machines, we might see it in our lifetime. So, but let's not jump the guns. Fifth industrial revolution, mass customization is a real possibility. And for mass customization, generative AI is a great tool. But for which, if we want to be part of the mass customization, we need to have our data there. So it's our responsibility to also train the AI, give it sufficient data so that it becomes more effective with us. So the future hospitals may not have the stethoscope, but it will still have patients like you and me. So stethoscope may come and go, but patients will still be there. Health is a non-negotiable factor. It will always remain. Human factors cannot be removed from the equation. And are we ready for seventh industrial revolution? With that questions, I would like to close the presentation. Here are my contact details, just in case if you're wondering. And I want to thank Deepak, Machina, and Q for standing up and having an eye contact to get me close, but I'm done. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Sivarasu. It's extremely fascinating, and I'm sure that there are some questions on the floor. I'm going to ask that we limit them to 2 just for the sake of time. So whoever lands in front of my eyeballs with a hand up will receive a microphone, and there is nobody. Here we go.
You emphasize the average success of AI in your, what do you call it, the grape and etc. But what is the chances of catastrophic failure? Because I think that is what's in people's mind. I have a doctor that's only average, but at least he's not going to completely kill me.
Thank you, sir. I wish I had ChatGPT to give me some response for your question. Because I'm sure ChatGPT's response is going to be more accurate than mine. So just on that note, the answer is, I don't know. Probably we don't know. The catastrophic failure from what we have seen is not significant enough that we have recorded, or humankind has recorded to warrant a case against the use of AI. So it's almost like until we have a catastrophic event like that, we might not know what is the scale of that is going to look like. I want to reflect on a pandemic example, and my colleague Sabri knows this very well. We were building ventilators, and one thing that happened during ventilator building is that we need to use open source softwares from stable repositories. We pick it up, you choose it, we use it. That's like a standard practice in anyone who does coding. We pick up open source repositories. It was all going well on some of our models, but we decided to customize ours, so we were doing okay. But do you know that tens of thousands of medical devices stopped working during the last year? And when they went back to explore what really the reason was, it was because of Russia-Ukraine war. And because of Russia-Ukraine war, the Russian hackers and the Ukrainian hackers cleaned up their repositories. And until that happened, not many people actually realized our dependence on open source repositories. So coming back to your question, sir, until that mass catastrophe happens, we will not know what's the scale of that. So after the Ukraine Russians wiping off the open source devices, everybody started customizing their open source tools to make sure that it is proof from it is protected from hackers. So we may have a solution around it, but until that incident happens, we may not have something to work with. And that's again, it's a generative model which is very dependent on incidents, and we don't know what that incidence is, other than like few flaws here and there. You know that GPT-4 gives you all rubbish responses compared to GPT 3.5, right? So you have tried it. So it's not that GPT-4 is actually bad. It's just that the complexity of GPT-4 is so high that simpler executions that happened in GPT 3.5 were not simple enough for GPT-4 to actually do that. So sometimes that exponential scaling may not also be a useful thing. So I've given a long-winded answer for something to say that I don't know.
Last question here.
Just because now we are teaching AI to basically now start to do most of these things that we could do ourselves as a population, as a world, as a continent. Now, aren't you afraid, like you as a doctor, that it's
I'm not a doctor, I'm an engineer.
Oh, an engineer,
yeah.
okay. So,
biomedical engineer.
Okay.
The world needs more biomedical engineers. Okay, let me propose that.
So, like, aren't you afraid that the AI will then eventually learn now? No, though these people now, they no longer are like, basically now, you can just take over. And as you can see, if you, there's this AI which called AlphaGo, and what it did, it shocked the world when, if you can relate to that incident that happened in China. So with that, like you can see now, no one understands what's going on. Aren't you aware, like it's going to now actually learn, like, okay, these people now, they don't have arms. Let's just add more material until the brain is left now. The rest of the body is what? It's like natural resources. Like what I'm saying is like, we don't know what regulates them beyond the fact that it's just that we know it's AI. Like, and when you talk about these like networks like that makes those reinforcement learning, I've seen game like playing itself, the AI does these things. I also see another one that it can learn without me. Now, my question is like, are they real or is it just an algorithm?
So to answer this, I think we may need to take we might have to go like 10 to 20 years back. How many of you in the room are old enough to have used fuzzy logics? Fuzzy logics? Okay. The more advanced version of this, neural networks? Yeah? So every time when the technology upgrades from fuzzy logics to neural networks to all, all other things that we are seeing today, there's always been this fear that that's going to take over. So in my domain, right, when the pandemic hit, teaching or designing equipments became almost impossible because we didn't have physical contacts. So we had to teach students how to do designs virtually. And in many cases, all our lectures were recorded. So in essence, that my role as a lecturer is done with that. That can be used for like next 10 years. But there is more to teaching, there is more to designing than what is being lectured. And that is where I think the human factors cannot be removed at all. Whether we like it or not, human factors cannot be removed. We are, at least I want to believe that we are superior in terms of our creative ability to respond to stimuli that we have never been exposed to. I think machines struggle with that. And we as a species take stimulus in such a way that we can actually respond to that if all of us are given to, like, imagine a tsunami coming there or a lion coming into the room. Each one of us will respond differently. But the machines, 99.1% of them will respond in the same way. And that is what is going to make us different than AI or AI-driven machines. And I think that's where we'll have the edge. It may be in doing mistakes. That's totally fine. You can still find out when a student does a ChatGPT report. You can figure it out, because previously it was full of spelling mistakes. Now it is beautifully written essay. We see that day to day. But there is no other system that can actually detect that the assignment was written by ChatGPT unless Turnitin comes out with something of that sort. So I think the systems will evolve, and our response to these challenges is what is going to make us unique. And I think you can be afraid, as I said, you can be afraid, but you might have to evolve over and above that. I would like to stop with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor.